Good morning, everybody. It is such a delight for me to be in studio and with you at the Sisterhood Day Conference. And I have such special guests with me, heroes of mine, and I'm sure after you've heard the session, heroes of yours as well. This is Judy Carter and Veronica Wilkinson, who have been in Anthem forever. And I'm just wanting to ask them a couple of questions because of who they are and because of who they've been in Anthem. They have really, for me, epitomized what it means to step into a role as a mother in community. But before we get into that, let's start with some introductions. Judes, Tell us a little bit about yourself so that those people who don't know you, and maybe even those who do, can hear something that they have not heard before.
Okay, I shall try. Well, I'm Judy, and I've been a member of Anthem Church since 2003, when I first retired from my job. And Anthem Church has been my life. As soon as I came here, I wanted to be involved with other people because I come from a multiracial family. My brother married, we lived in Kenya, and my brother married a black girl, which was amazing, and they had a lovely marriage. And my dad adopted a black boy, Martin, who's my brother, and he has been exceptional. So I come from a multiracial family. I love being with all the people and everything.
You do, Judes. I think that's something that is so special for me, is that the instant I came into this church, you were that kind of person that you speak to anybody. And yes. I love the fact that people are people to you. I think we don't mean to, but we all have people that we see and people that we don't see.
Yeah.
And actually that you seem to be cured of that disease, which is a wonderful thing. And as you say, some of it is because of your background, and some of it is just because that's what God has put in you, eyes to see. You've got beautiful blue eyes, but you've also got spiritual eyes and eyes to see. And I think that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And Veronica, something about you that either we don't know or is something that nobody knows. Go for it.
Okay, so I am married to Patrick, and why I say that first is because the beginning of September we'll be married for 60 years.
Wow.
So we have 3 children, one in Canada, one in England, and our son here. And so we have lovely daughters-in-law and one son-in-law, and we have 9 grandchildren. And then just going right back to my early childhood that maybe not a lot of people know.
Okay.
I was the youngest of 11 children. I had 6 brothers and 4 sisters. A really happy home, except my dad was killed when I was 1. He had fought in the First World War and was really valiant. He had got the Military Cross and Bar. But then in the Second World War, because I was born in 41, he went up north as a war historian and he was killed. And so, yes, I never really knew him because I was just 1 year old.
That's amazing to me, because we're speaking to you about your role as a mother, but actually for you, your mother was able to handle 11 children without her husband, and even in such a way that her husband felt at liberty to go when you were 1 year old.
Yes, that's a story in itself.
Wow, that's amazing. But also something that is special talking about relationships is the two of you have got a beautiful friendship. I often see you whispering and giggling together. Tell us how that started.
I love Judy.
I love you.
It was first time I met Judy, it was at a ladies' camp. Jenny had organised, and Jenny had put us 2 together, and I hadn't met Judy before. And I'll tell you why I especially love her, because it was the middle of winter and freezing cold, and I'd forgotten to take bed socks.
I mean, who can sleep without bed socks?
And Judy said, I have bed socks, and she gave them to me. And I thought, anybody that would give me their bed socks in freezing weather is the dearest person, a real community person. So thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. And that absolutely is Judy's character. Veronica, we have a shared love for words and for poetry. You often share some of your poetry with me. You write poetry. You appreciate, I think one of the best books I've ever read was a gift from you that was written in just a beautiful poetic prose form. And you often write poems about Jesus. What inspired you to do this? What does inspire you to do that?
Actually, I love to write more than I love to speak. And so, yes, I think my love of poetry came from knowing the love of God so intimately that I had to respond. And especially after circumstances that I would go through, and that he would guide me, encourage me, and show me things. Just in retrospect, I would go over everything and I would write it down, just in gratitude and thanks. And I find that those poems have been amazingly helpful for me in ministry. And when I relate them again, it just brings back his faithfulness, his love, his continual caring for us. So it's very natural for me to do that.
Yes. I'm interested. So I joined the church when we got married, which was about 22 years ago. And from quite early on, you would sometimes bring me a word on a Sunday that you'd written out as a rhyming poem or a piece of prose. And it seemed that you had been praying for me. It seemed that you had been thinking about me. What makes you see younger women, and how are you inspired? Because for me, that was such a blessing. My mum is still alive and I adore her, but she does not know Jesus. And so to have somebody who was actually praying and who would take the time to hear God on my behalf was something really, it was such a gift that I hadn't known. What inspired you to do that? Why did you start doing that? Why did you start seeing younger women?
That's quite a strange question for me.
Sorry.
Because, no, it's just that I never see age.
Okay.
It's God would bring somebody to mind, and in praying for them, he might give me a picture or a word or a few words. And so it's the most natural thing for me to pass that on. I've never actually just thought that it was a younger woman, or in fact, age doesn't come into it. And when I think of the congregation now and the community, it's just that I'm probably one of the oldest, so everybody else would be.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I think what is amazing to me is that you initiated a relationship with me.
Jackie, when I've been given something, when I was first a Christian, I would be hesitant to give it, either a picture or a word, because you kind of have that feeling, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it wasn't. And then I wouldn't. And then I would have such a sadness that I couldn't stand. And I thought, Lord, if it's you, I'm going for it. I'm going to go for it. As long as I encourage and build up and never pull down, I will speak that word.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I felt that I really wanted to. It was a privilege to bring a word and maybe some joy into life.
It seems like for you, it's been less about going after a particular role or trying hard to be something, and actually you've gone after Jesus. And in doing so, you have become something, and other people have drunk from that well that you have become.
It's so beautiful to hear, because I don't see it like that at all.
But it sounds like you don't see yourself much. It sounds like your eyes are only on Jesus. Would you say
Jackie,
does that feel true to you, that it's just about Jesus?
It is about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. When I came, can I just fill in something?
Go for it.
When I first came to the Lord, it's a story in itself, but the very next day, I opened my Bible and I thought, Lord, you have to teach me, because I've been in a very religious background, and I thought, I will never trust man again. That sounds strange maybe, but I just wanted to hear from him. And I remember opening my Bible, and he gave me a scripture, but he gave me a picture as well. And it was 6 glasses and a jug. And I knew instantly I was the jug, and he filled it.
Wow.
And he filled I always think of the water of the word he put in. And it was never to be scattered, but when there was a vessel to receive it,
Wow.
that I would know, and he would pour it into that vessel. So it has never been about me. It is about the word and the power of the word. And I think if I could do anything, it would be to encourage at every age and every person to be in the word.
For you, that is a major part of being filled and your devotion to Jesus.
Totally.
That's beautiful. And so that then rings true to me, that it's less about you running around trying to find people to mother and to disciple. It's actually about being with Jesus, becoming filled. But then he has obviously highlighted individuals where you've been able to pour at different times and different years.
And not just in community. It's along life's way.
Yes.
How people just come.
Yes.
So
yes. Yeah, when you have what other people need, God will let them find you, or let you find them, because
trust him that way.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. All right, Judes, to turn the attention to you a little bit.
Okay.
So let me think. Our first engagement could have been in a vegetable garden in Amaoti, because again, 22 years ago, when Richard and I, or 20 years ago, when we were a young married couple,
yes,
we were busy working as a church out into an area called Amaoti, and I think that grew to be a few other areas as well, which is, as far as I know then, I'm not sure what the stats are today, was one of the most poverty-stricken areas in our country, and certainly in our province. And yeah, I remember going out there, getting our hands dirty. There was food, there was children, there were soccer balls, there was all sorts of things, and there was garden tools, and we worked.
Yeah.
Why were we there, Jude? How did that start? Why were we as a community, as a church? Because I know that you were leading at that time, and for me, I was just doing what I was told, digging a hole where I was told to dig a hole. So how did our church first engage with Amaoti?
Well, Joan and Titch Smith first engaged there, taking out food and things. But then we discovered there's so many other things that we could have done, like helping them to provide for themselves. And so, making vegetable gardens and growing vegetables so that they can eat and stuff like that. And so that was the reason that was started. And Titch also started a company making bricks so that people could have some bricks to build their homes with and things like that.
Yes.
And there was another lady, Angela Dubé, who had an orphanage.
Yes.
And then we built an extra building next to their house. Well, it was joined to their house, but so that their family could live separate from the actual children in the orphanage and things like that. So those were the sort of things that Titch Smith started basically for Indlela.
Yes.
Yes.
But I remember, so when we were, again, newly married, we had on our fridge a photo of a child, and it was probably one of our first stock orders from our first salaries, was going to pay this child school fees and uniforms.
Yes.
And that came from you. I remember you setting up a table at the back of the church, and you were going to have all of us, adopting a child from a financial point of view just to do with school. Many of them had families, but a back to school program.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, a lot of the children, even though if they had a mother or a grandmother or whoever they lived with, or even a father, they probably weren't employed, so they had no money at all. And we needed to have these children in school. I mean, I know what educations are like, and without it, I mean, you've got no opportunity basically of getting a job or anything like that, or growing up and, knowing things and coming to know God as well. It was amazing. We got lots of sponsors. It was 80 Rand a month.
Well, that was a lot for us.
Well, in those days, two of the schools, Amiati 1 and Amiati 3, were 80 Rand a year for the child.
Oh, wow.
So with the extra money that we got from the sponsors, I was able to go shopping and get uniforms and shoes and all sorts of things. And for some of the girls, we used to, because I don't know whether I should say this, but some of the girls didn't go when they had their periods.
Sure.
They used to use newspaper and all sorts of terrible things. And so we started getting some sanitary towels for them as well. And it's amazing that the things that actually grew. And some of the people from Amayati actually joined me.
Yes.
And Nozipa and Candy.
To help you, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
They joined me, men and women. We had about 6 people that were working with me. It was all voluntary. We didn't get paid for it,
Yes.
but they also wanted to uplift the community as well, which was amazing. And so we used to go around and get children into school. Now, 2 of the schools, Amiati 1 and Amiati 3, they had no water. They had no playgrounds. They had pit latrines. I don't know whether they still have pit latrines or not, which is a terrible thing. But then there were other schools which we used to go to. Zwakeli School, which was a primary school, Amadletu School, which was a high school. But then I decided that the children needed more than they were getting. And so I went to Phoenix, to Brookdale Primary School, and it was amazing. They got playgrounds, they had things to do, they did sport and all sorts of things. And I got to know Dr. Soman, who's the principal, and he really was into helping us. And one of the guys that used to come with me, Bongani Mkwanazi, he was then as a teacher. He became a teacher.
What's interesting to me, Jude, is you're doing all of this. You've actually retired from a pretty hectic career, and you are volunteering your time, I think, at least for 15 years. And you also, even now, with our adoptive case, I needed something done at Home Affairs, and I was struggling to get the process rolling. And so I phoned Judy, which maybe it's surprising to phone. How old are you, Jude?
89 next month.
Maybe it's surprising that I phoned an 89. It might have been last year, so let's say 88-year-old, to solve my Home Affairs problem. And you did, I think, which is amazing to me, because obviously we're now talking about in your 70s and 80s, you so advocated for children. And by my recollection, actually one of the biggest problems is the children can't go to school without a birth certificate.
No.
So why did you start your relationship with Home Affairs? What initiated that?
Well, so many children didn't have a birth certificate. Even if they had a mother or a grandmother that they lived with, they still had a dompas, was it called, or something of the sort. And so I said, no, you can't have it. I didn't even know what it was because I didn't live here then. And so that's the reason why I started going to home affairs. But what I had to do first was go to the social workers, because I had to take someone that the child lived with or was next door to that knew all about them. So we had to go to the social worker to get permission and approval and a report on that child So I used to go to in under Newtown Social Services, and that's where they still contact me actually sometimes, because I used to go there so often.
All because you felt that in order to give people what they needed, you had to advocate for them.
Yes.
Many of the people that you were talking about were either didn't know what they needed or were incapable of getting what they needed themselves.
Exactly, yes.
So you have really, the reason I've asked you today is because as a mother, I know, even with this situation that I was talking to you about, dealing with adoption and home affairs, all I want to do is advocate for my children.
Yes.
And I think sometimes when I am going to the school and saying this child shouldn't be having to do this subject, or this child has been overlooked in this position, whatever it is, I'm advocating for my children. But you saw children who didn't have an advocate, children and young adults who didn't have the advocate they needed, at least, to be able to put them into a position where they could be in school, be employed. I know you dealt with IDs for young adults as well. You really just stepped up and became an advocate, and it's that a mother as an advocate for people around that needed it. Was that, it just seemed that God did that in you.
Yes, I used to pray about it. And before I went, I used to say, everything, please, help everything to work out well and to keep us safe and, for us to receive the things that we're going to receive, with ID and things like that. I remember one day when I was going out there, they were burning tyres. And because the people out down in Amiotti knew me, they'd stopped all the cars, but people came out and took me around the fires that were burning in the road. I mean, really, that was incredible.
And I think that's just so beautiful, Jude. I want people I want women sitting here today to feel like I can advocate for others.
Yes.
I'm a woman, and therefore in me there is a mother's heart.
Yes.
And from the both of you, I can advocate for people that can't speak up for themselves. And I can actually take seriously my devotion to Jesus, because it's not just for me.
Yes.
It's for me, and that's beautiful, and I will be filled. But actually it allows me a mother is a spiritual, a beautiful spiritual guide. Maybe that's a better word than spiritual director. A spiritual guide, a spiritual encourager, a spiritual nurturer and feeder. And we can be these things whether or not we are biological mothers.
Yes.
Veronica, is there anything else that you would like to add, to leave the ladies with?
I think maybe I would love to share one poem with you.
Beautiful. I'd love that.
And I know Nix has heard it before, but it's just very precious to me and for me. It's headed The Storms of Life. In the storms of life, I will walk upon the water. In the storms of life, I won't stay within this boat. In the storms of life, I will walk upon the water. I will climb right out this moat. For you call me on to things that are much greater, and you call me on to achieve what you have planned. And you whisper, child, it is now and not much later. Will you reach out for my hand? And you say to me, do not cower in confusion. And you say to me, and your troubles don't remain. For my word of life is your perfect solution. It will reach that deep, deep pain. So now come to me when the storm is at its greatest. Please come to me with your focus on my face, and I'll lift you high above the roaring tempest, and we'll reach my resting place.
It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. I think, Veronica, my takeaway after chatting with you now is that if we want to influence our children, and we want to play a role of influence within our churches and communities, then actually it's about going on the brave journey ourselves.
Yes.
And inviting others with us.
Absolutely.
Getting out of the boat, being courageous, following after Jesus, being the jug that is filled, so that we can fill others, so that we can have influence over others. Everything we do as a mother affects more than just ourselves. Everything that we do as a mother opens up a path, opens up a road for others to walk into.
Yes.
Can I just mention something from that?
Yes.
So I'm so proud of so many people from Amayoti that have done so well. You know, it's so exciting. Zeh.
So Zeh helped you to your seat today and is sitting behind the camera?
Yes, but he was one of my children. He still is, and I love him.
Yeah.
And he's doing so well, and I'm so proud of him. His sister Andiswa, she's a school teacher now. And his brother Mdu, he's also, he's working, he's, training and stuff like that. And I'm so proud of so many of them. They've done well. They love Jesus. I'm very proud.
Yeah.
Can Zeb come over?
You want to hug?
Yes.
Yes, you can have a hug. You can have a hug.
There's my boy. Oh, love you. Bless you.
Beautiful. Well, from me, Veronica, thank you. I'm grateful that you were not the only woman. I am very happy to have a mom-in-law that also has prayed for me and been able to pray for kids and details. Elba more recently has taken that upon herself, but to have someone in the church who for no reason other than Jesus told her that we didn't have a family connection, we didn't have common interests other than, as we discovered, a common love for poetry. But thank you for seeing me and for the other cups, the other little vessels that you have seen over the years. It really matters. And I think ladies, for all of us to realize how important it is. You don't know whose life you may change by being willing to be a mother who is full. To be a mother who is full of the Spirit of God, full of the Word of God, and able at that right time to be sent by Him to pour into another vessel that is sitting empty waiting for you. And if you are those vessels, then that is what this conference is all about. It's all about acknowledging our emptiness and our need, and the fact that God has probably put the answer to our prayers in this community. And there are probably mothers here looking for daughters, and daughters looking for mothers. And so let's be that to each other.
Yes.
And I think similarly for you, Judy, thank you for the many lives you have changed as you are 89 years old. I don't know if we will get how many opportunities we are going to get to be able to say on behalf of all of us, thank you. Thank you for joining this church. Thank you for the lives that you have changed, because it is a ripple effect. It has not just changed. Each life that you changes more and more and more lives.
Yes.
So thank you for saying yes, and for being brave, and for just being so selfless and saying, I'm going to dedicate my retirement and bless Ken as he released you day in and day out, when he could have actually rather happily been sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas with you. But instead you chose actually to pour out the resources in your hands and your advocacy and your agency in helping others. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you very much.